Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, proud to support the mission of KPBS and privileged to serve San Diego clients. Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, helping homeowners maintain drain, heating, and cooling systems since 1978. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
Good evening. It's Wednesday, May 6th. Thanks for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Several local leaders are calling on the state and the county to pick up the pace when it comes to reopening businesses. It comes as the county announces 8 more deaths and 159 new COVID-19 cases. And Governor Newsom shares news on expanded testing in the state, property tax relief, and a sober assessment of the state's economic future. Here's KPBS reporter John Carroll.
Slowly but surely, the pressure is building on state and county leaders to move faster toward reopening. San Diego City Councilman Scott Sherman was joined by other local government and business leaders this morning to press the point.
And that's why we're here today, to pressure the governor and the county to move quicker rather than slower and get people back to work where they can support their families.
El Cajon Mayor Bill Wells began his remarks with a compliment for the governor.
I think that you've done a good job. I think that you have gone and done the right thing to keep us safe.
But Wells says the danger of San Diego County's healthcare system being overwhelmed has now passed.
I'm requesting of the county and of the governor to do everything that's reasonable to keep us safe, but also let us to find some semblance of normality.
Supervisor Nathan Fletcher responded at this afternoon's county news conference, saying the danger has not passed and the transition must be done the right way.
If we don't go through this responsibly, we could end up with a second wave that would cause a re-lockdown of all of these types of things, and that would not only compromise the integrity of our healthcare system, but that would be incredibly detrimental to an economic recovery.
From the governor, an announcement about increased testing opportunities across the state. Californians can now find testing sites by going to covid19.ca.gov and putting in your zip code. That brings up this map showing the testing sites. Newsom says more are being added every day. He also had welcome news for property owners, business and residential. The 10% penalty for not paying on time will now be waived until the end of this month for businesses and until next May for homeowners. The governor always takes questions at the end of his remarks, and today he got one about how long it will take the state to recover economically. His answer was sobering.
This is serious. We've never experienced anything like this in our lifetime. This is Depression-era numbers.
Newsom went on to say he has no doubt California will recover and that on the other side of this crisis will be stronger and more resilient than ever. John Carroll, KPBS News.
Today, President Trump declared the coronavirus task force would continue indefinitely, but the focus would shift to reopening the country. This comes as ADP reports American private payrolls plummeted by more than 20 million jobs in April, and that's the worst month on record. All but 7 states are restarting their economies even as cases rise dramatically.
You take New York out of the national numbers, the numbers for the rest of the nation are going up. They are going up. To me, that vindicates what we're doing here in New York, which says, follow the science.
And the state of Montana is going a step further than other states, getting back to business, allowing schools to reopen as soon as tomorrow. An immigration detainee who contracted COVID-19 at the Otay Mesa detention center has died. That's according to other detainees who were alerted by guards this morning. On Monday, the government said in court that a detainee was in very grave condition and was on a ventilator. Dorian Edgar Seto is an attorney with the National Immigrant Justice Center. She represents clients currently in detention at Otay Mesa.
This is absolutely preventable. This person died unnecessarily. It was not, it shouldn't have happened. It doesn't need to happen to any other families, to any other people who are caught up in this system.
Immigration and Customs Enforcement has yet to confirm the death. It would be the first from COVID-19 at the detention center, which currently has 132 detainees who have tested positive for the virus. It is the largest outbreak in an immigrant detention facility in the country. Construction crews are now working on building the border wall in the Otay Mountain wilderness. It's the first new miles of border fencing in San Diego County in decades, and the work gives a new meaning to stay at home. KPBS reporter Max Nadler explains.
Despite the coronavirus pandemic, the Trump administration is moving ahead with border wall construction in San Diego County. Here in the Otay Mesa Mountain Wilderness, where 500 acres of land had been transferred from the Department of the Interior to the Army, they're continuing to build the border wall straight up the side of a mountain.
The project is moving ahead after a lower court ruling was overturned, allowing the Trump administration to redirect Department of Defense money to border wall construction. The new primary fence will run 1.2 miles along the border in the Otay Mountain Wilderness. This comes as other border wall projects continue across the southwest border amidst the pandemic. The federal government has said these projects are exempt from statewide stay-at-home orders. In a statement, Customs and Border Protection said the safety of our employees, including that of our contractors and the people in the communities in which we work, is our top priority. They say they're taking aggressive measures to protect their workforce. In Otay Mesa, Max Nadler, KPBS News.
UC San Diego is taking an important step toward getting students back this fall. The university plans to start mass testing students, faculty, and staff. KPBS education reporter Joe Hong has more.
So the sooner we could detect, the sooner we could isolate, the better our capability to bring people together, or nearly the way we were.
UC San Diego Chancellor Pradeep Khosla announced late Tuesday that the university would test the 5,000 students currently living on campus, starting as early as Monday. By fall, the university hopes to test all students, faculty, and staff on a monthly basis. It's one of the first colleges in the nation to announce plans to test all students, but the university's own experts say the mass testing is only half the battle.
So we have a very active program in which this is only a part.
Robert Schooley is a professor of medicine at UC San Diego and is overseeing the plan. He emphasizes that no one should assume campuses will be open when the fall term starts in late September, even with the testing.
We could be in a situation where we're all still working from home and no campuses are open in the fall. So this is based on the assumption that community and national conditions are such that we're able to come to campus and work together.
Considering its large hospital and prestigious health sciences departments, UCSD is well equipped to carry out mass testing. Schooley says he would be open to eventually partnering with other local colleges. One UCSD student agrees that testing capacity is key, but understands that more needs to happen.
I think it's really smart. It's a research university. They have the resources to do it, so why not?
Trevor Jones is a pre-med student at UC San Diego. He says at this point he doubts he'll feel completely safe going back to his lecture halls come fall.
There'd have to be a full vaccine because, I have family members that are in that range where they're at risk to death from COVID-19. I just don't want to, even if I get the test a week later, that's still enough time for them to become infected.
In the meantime, Jones says he's okay with online classes as long as he's able to graduate on time. Joe Hong, KPBS News.
And you can now be tested for COVID-19 without a doctor's referral and for free. 3 state-sponsored testing sites opened yesterday, but with some hiccups that left some waiting for hours. Today, KPBS reporter Matt Hoffman went to get a test to see what the process is like and if the hiccups had been fixed.
We're here at the testing site in Escondido. I know myself, I just signed up for this appointment the day before this. Now, let's go hop in line, see how this whole process works. So my appointment is scheduled for 11 o'clock here in Escondido. Now, on the first day of testing, some of those appointments got pushed back 2+ hours. There were super long lines. As you can see here behind me, only a few people in front of me, so we'll see how long it takes to get through the line. It's been just a few minutes, and already we're at the front of the line here, so as you can tell, the process moving a lot quicker here. Actually, they're coming out to get us right now.
Next, please.
Cool. That's it?
Yeah.
Okay, so I just finished my test. They wouldn't let our cameras in there, but basically they just have this little swab thing. They stick it really far up your nose. It was really uncomfortable. Actually, my eyes were watering, but it's super simple. I think the whole process from actually being in line to going in and getting the test was literally less than 10 minutes. So they've definitely worked on these. But now there's some other questions like, After you go through this, if you test positive, what are you supposed to do?
Because if you have a positive test, you're going to be isolated for a period of time. And if you need help with that, then the county actually has some resources that we can bring to bear to assist with that.
OptumServe is the company tapped by the state to do the testing in San Diego. Officials say if you get a positive test, they will also be reaching out to you with more information.
A positive in your example would be contacted by the nursing team from there, and it also will be followed up through our epidemiology program here in the county.
Officials say tests are booked up for the rest of the week, but they encourage people to keep checking back as more dates are made available. Matt Hoffman, KPBS News.
The former commanding officer of the USS Theodore Roosevelt has been temporarily reassigned to San Diego. According to a report in the Navy Times, Captain Brett Crozer is serving as a special assistant to the Naval Air Force's Chief of Staff. Military officials recently ordered a second investigation into the circumstances that led to Crozer being fired from the San Diego-based aircraft carrier. The Roosevelt is preparing to redeploy from Guam. San Diego's airport has been hit hard the past few months because of the virus. KPBS reporter Eric Anderson looks at whether high-flying days are ahead or not.
The last 2 months have been financially brutal for San Diego's largest airport. People just aren't flying. And you can find the proof at the Transportation Security Administration checkpoints.
Typically, we would monitor passenger traffic on a monthly basis, and that was okay because we knew what to expect. We started monitoring traffic on a daily basis. And on an average day going through our TSA checkpoints, we would have about 40,000 employees, crew, and passengers.
Daily totals are down to about 2,000 people, which is up from 1,000 a few weeks ago. Becker says passenger traffic is down 95%, and nearly half of the regular flights in and out of Lindbergh Field have been canceled. And the airport is a critical piece of the regional economy. It generates a $12 billion economic impact, and it is a cornerstone of a tourism economy that brings some 22 million people here each year.
People fly into San Diego to enjoy the tourist activities that we have over here, both internationally and domestically. And each one of those passengers leaves money here in the region, about $835, per person who stops here.
Major says that money gets spent at local hotels, restaurants, and theme parks like the San Diego Zoo, SeaWorld, and Legoland. Airport officials say 3 smaller airlines are already looking at suspending service to San Diego, but nothing has been finalized.
As people gain confidence, traffic will come back. It'll be a different kind of environment. Airlines will be very selective in the flights that they do bring back. But we have a really strong market in San Diego, not only our business community, but our travel and tourism community. And people like to come here, so that will benefit San Diego overall.
Becker says projections show only about 13 million people will fly in and out of Lindbergh Field this year. That's half of last year's passenger count. Eric Anderson, KPBS News.
We are following all of the latest coronavirus developments for you at kpbs.org. Just click on the Tracking COVID-19 link on our homepage, and then you'll be taken to a page with all of our recent reports. And it looks like we're in for another hot day. When can we expect some relief from the heat? Well, for that, we'll turn to Mark Mancuso with your forecast.
Well, he continues here in the San Diego area, but we do see some slightly cooler air coming in for the end of the week, and even more so over the weekend into early next week. But for now, our temperatures are staying well above average. Some places anywhere from 10 to 20 degrees above average. The heat advisories do continue here across the valleys right through Friday night. And over here in the desert areas towards the Coachella Valley, we are looking at excessive heat warning, so use common sense. Don't overexert yourself, hydrate, try and stay inside in the air conditioning if you can. And if you're outside, limit that time in the sunshine. For tonight, well, we're looking at some more clouds right near the coast. Temperature drops down to 57 in Oceanside. San Diego's down to 63. Ramona's at 56, and Campo dips down to about 48. That feels good, huh? Well, during the day on Thursday, still very hot in the interior here across the desert regions, inland valleys. Near the coast, though, we will see some clouds and then some sun. And the temperatures will still remain warm. Our highs up to 80 in Oceanside and San Diego. El Cajon's up to 93. Escondido's 89 and Ramona at 92. Well, the heat stays with us in the interior regions, the deserts in particular, into Friday, but we'll continue to see some clouds and some slightly cooler temperatures near the coast. So you take you through the next couple of days. Yes, it's still warm. The temperature is above average. Morning clouds, afternoon sun. But then as we head into the weekend, see temperatures will definitely be trending down. So it's a slow process here. Inland areas still very hot into Thursday, and then temperatures not quite as warm and then more comfortable early in the next week. Across the mountains, warm and sunny, and then cooler. And across the deserts, still triple-digit heat, but there is a break coming over the weekends. For KPBS News, I'm meteorologist Mark Mancuso.
San Diego County is considering using smartphone apps for contact tracing. That's the tracking of interactions of people who've tested positive for COVID-19. KPBS investigative reporter Claire Tregesser looks into the technology and its privacy concerns.
The way I see it is more like, yeah, this is a responsibility.
Marianne Erickson lives in downtown San Diego and says she would happily use a contact tracing app on her phone.
If the government really wanted to track me, they could. And in this case, I see it more as they're tracking because it's going to help all of us.
But not everyone agrees.
Nope. I would not.
Khalid Alexander lives in Southeast San Diego.
For me, it's like combining the two things that I kind of distrust the most or have a healthy distrust of the most, government and technology.
Contact tracing, tracking infected people to see who they've been in contact with, will likely be a crucial component to reopening society. And some governments are counting on using smartphone apps to do a lot of this work for them. But it's far from certain whether enough people will agree to use the apps to make them effective. Still, plans are underway. San Diego County is considering an app, as is California. All of the apps, which operate on technology from Google and Apple, would likely use Bluetooth, not GPS, to determine who you've been in contact with. Then, if you were infected, you could choose to send an alert to all those contacts.
It's crazy. It makes sense to install this for everybody because you're going to get something out of it. You're going to find out who you came into contact with that might have infected you. So even if you're a very selfish person, you probably should install this. But when it comes time when you find you have been infected and it comes time to send that notice, well, for the selfish person, you kind of say, well, what do I get out of that? Nothing. And I might get hassled. Somebody might figure out that it was me and call me up and yell at me. So a lot of people could just say no. I'm just not sure we should give people that option.
In fact, Baker thinks the government should make the apps mandatory.
2 months ago, if you had said, do you think the government should be able to tell you to stay home, lose your job, and never leave the house for a month? You would have said, no, that's just a complete violation of every civil liberty an American has. And we would never do that. And now we're accepting it, more or less, because the alternative is worse.
There is a tendency in moments like this to say, well, do something. And there's, in particular, a tendency to say, Silicon Valley, nerd harder and come up with the magic app that is going to save us from this situation. And when the proposal for the magic app is inherently intrusive of privacy.
Schwartz also has concerns about abuse. Police could use apps to track people, or employers could use them to find unionizing efforts.
We are all too familiar with the norm that government faced with a crisis seizes new surveillance powers, and when the crisis abates, they keep those surveillance powers. So here we are 2 decades after the 9/11 attacks, and the NSA internet spying program that was adopted within months of 9/11 is very much still in place.
That resonates with Khalid Alexander.
We're not far off from when, we'd have FBI surveillance and people going into mosques and following and harassing Muslims for no other reason than being Muslim.
He would happily talk to a contact tracer on the phone, but would definitely not install a contact tracing app. Claire Tregesser, KPBS News.
Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg called in from her hospital bed to join today's Supreme Court hearing. It concerns the Affordable Care Act's requirement that employer-provided health insurance plans cover birth control. Ginsburg made it clear she's opposed to the Trump administration's attempt to weaken the mandate.
So this idea that the balance has to be all for the Little Sisters type organizations and not at all for the women, it just seems to me to rub against what is our history of accommodation, of tolerance, of respect for divergent views.
Ginsburg is being treated for a benign gallbladder condition. The IRS accidentally sent stimulus money to people who have died, and now it's asking for that money back. That's because the agency used tax returns from the past 2 years to determine eligibility for those payments. Now, if you received a check intended for a family member who is now deceased, you have to mail it back to the Treasury Department. People in jail also have to return any stimulus money they have received. The greatest generation needs our greatest level of care right now. Seniors are particularly vulnerable to the coronavirus and susceptible to scams as well. Nadia Romero explains this dangerous combination.
84-year-old Doris Block was rushed to a San Francisco area hospital.
I was told I had the coronavirus, and the doctor came in. He said, "How do you feel?" And I said, "Afraid."
It's the fear so many seniors have right now. According to the CDC, seniors are among the groups with the highest risk of complications from the coronavirus, and stay-at-home orders are leaving them isolated from loved ones, as well as susceptible to other dangers.
They may be homebound. They may have health issues or otherwise not be close to family and friends. And this time of social distancing further exacerbates their isolation.
Kathy Kraninger heads the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. She says there's already proof that the fear of the virus and isolation is leading to greater risk for scams.
You have phone calls and phishing emails that are claiming to be from the World Health Organization, from the Centers for Disease Control.
As of April 23rd, the Federal Trade Commission says it has received nearly 14,000 fraud complaints, with reported losses of more than $19 million. The FBI warns about stimulus check scams.
Click here to go to this website and register for your stimulus check, which obviously is not true.
Now is the time to check up on seniors and remind them that any phone call, text, or email
asking for personal information, credit card numbers or bank account numbers, your social security number, that is a scam.
As all Americans try to weather the coronavirus storm, comforting words from one woman who fought and survived.
You can fight this and you can win.
In Washington, Nadia Romero, KPBS News.
There may be a positive side to millions of Americans working from home right now. A new survey shows 54% said that working from home has had a positive effect on their productivity. They cited no commute, fewer distractions from coworkers, and fewer meetings. But the survey also found that just about half of the respondents felt lonely working from home. It's National Teacher Appreciation Week, and 3 local schools can claim the very best San Diego has to offer. KPBS producer Ben Lacey tells us about the Teachers of the Year for 2020.
I really see it as more of like a community win.
San Diego Unified 6,000 teachers are wrapping up a school year that drastically changed the way they connect with students. COVID-19 forced schools to close in March. In Claremont, Kelly Young was ready.
So we started prepping a week before we closed, and I went and started distance learning on March 16th. So my kids have all been doing classes.
Young teaches a mix of 4th and 5th graders at Lindbergh Schweitzer Elementary. The district says her blend of innovation and inclusivity stands out.
I looked at my kids, I was like, we did it! We did it, guys! Because for me, it was a team effort.
At Wilson Middle School in City Heights, you'll hear the sounds of a drumline, jazz band, guitar club, and a mariachi.
I'm in a position to
inspire other teachers.
They're all taught by the district's Middle School Teacher of the Year, Paula Richardson. Richardson says music can be a metaphor for rising to meet new challenges and personal growth, especially during a time like this.
Watching my kids go through that emotion, their own like self-confidence and their pride growing and changing, that makes my heart happy.
Skyline is home to the district's High School Teacher of the Year. Deidre Fabian says the honor is all hers.
And I'll brag and say I have the best job in special education, being an adaptive PE teacher.
Fabian has been teaching at Morse and Lincoln High Schools the past 3 years. Now she's teaching from home with a bit of help.
My son has autism. He's a freshman in high school, so he's doing some videos with me to show the kids that it's for them as well.
Morse Principal Cynthia Larkin says all schools will be blessed to have a teacher like Fabian.
Come together and work out and learn about inclusivity, tolerance, and just compassion.
All 3 teachers can apply for county, state, and national awards in the weeks ahead. Ben Lacey, KPBS News.
An update now on our top story. Pressure is building on state and county leaders to move faster toward reopening businesses and getting San Diegans back to work. It comes as the county announces 8 more deaths and 159 new COVID-19 cases. Governor Newsom announced increased testing opportunities across the state. 3 opened in our county this week. And you can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org/evening edition. Thank you for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Have a good night.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, proud to support the mission of KPBS and privileged to serve San Diego clients. Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, helping homeowners maintain drain, heating, and cooling systems since 1978. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.